Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 20 of the Wolves Report online Leicester. And tonight I'm joined by some who describe as Bull and Much, others more Slater and Claridge. It's Tyler and Knocker. Good evening, gentlemen. Tonight we'll be talking about Norwich and the Arsenal game. We're talking about the Molineux atmosphere, rumours around the Trincao and Adama swap, our final league position predictions, FOSUN's long-term ambition, what is it now? Player responsibilities with the incident in the week, and looking ahead to Spurs. Also, I'd like to mention that your contribution through the show is absolutely key. Questions, comments, we'll get them up. It helps us add a little bit more to the show as well. So they're all welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. So we'll kick things off by talking about going out the FA Cup. All our predictions were wrong. Knocker, we'll talk about this briefly because obviously I want to talk about more of the Arsenal game. But Knocker, talk us through the Norwich game in your own view, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think I called 4-1 Wolves win on this one, so I was slightly off the pace on that one, but it was a disaster, wasn't it? It was poor from start to finish. I don't think I never felt comfortable in the game. I always thought Norwich looked more dangerous than us. The goal we gave away was a shambles. I didn't think it was a free kick at the time, though, to be fair, but I thought when he swung it in, I think Ruddy forgot that he had arms. He just kind of stood there and it just drifted over the top of his head into the net. But I mean, they'd had chances before that. Their lad had a one-on-one that Ruddy saved really well. They had a big chance in the second half that, again, Ruddy saved well. But we just didn't create anything, did we? I think we had that one chance with Podence that hit the post. But we weren't fluid. We looked, I don't know, did we have a little bit of the we're going to turn up and walk over these kind of mentality about us? I mean, bearing in mind
like a little bit.
It did, and I mean, they made some changes as well. That wasn't their full strength 11. So, and I thought from the majority of the game we were outplayed as well, which is a little bit of a concern for me. But we were out the cup. I'm disappointed because I thought we could do something this year. I really fancied us to have a little bit of a run in this competition, but same old Wolves, we disappear out relatively early, don't we?
I've been telling you boys, we ain't going to win the FA Cup, lads.
Well, we're not this year, are we? It's gone pear-shaped.
Yeah, thanks for your tweet, Tyler. Just exactly what I needed. That was. Thanks, mate.
I know, but you've talked about it a lot, Ryan, and we still going about the Leeds game and the semi-final we lost to Arsenal, but apart from Watford recently, that's as good as it's been. And Wolves fans talk about having a decent cup run, and I just don't see it. I mean, we took it seriously enough. The team selection was probably as good as it could have been, but like Mark said, the display was just nowhere near good enough. And I mean, Norwich, let's be honest, they're a bang average side, and they've made changes. And like Mark said, they were good value for the win, weren't they? So it was just maybe one of those days where I think we'd still been playing now and we wouldn't have scored, would we? So
I think it's the manner of the defeat. I think you're spot on. It's the manner of the defeat. I mean, if
go
you're
out firing, go out all guns blazing, try and get something from the game. But we had a little spell in the second half that nothing
exactly
really
that. Exactly that. I think if you're smashing shots left, right, and centre, and you're hitting the post, and your keeper's had a blinder, you can handle that because that happens in football. But when you've kind of just
whimpered,
walked out of it, and just may as well have not bothered turning up. That's when I have an issue with losing football matches, and that's how it felt to me. It felt almost like a bit of a surrender, really, and I don't want to see that.
We've probably saved a few quid because we'd have gone to Liverpool and probably got knocked out anyway. So.
Well, we went there a few years ago and we were doing the Icelandic clap at the end of the game. So, you never know in this competition, do you? But if you're going to go out, at least go out, go off on your shield. Don't go down the way we did. It was pitiful the way we went out of the cup.
Now, I'd say under Bruno so far, we haven't really. There's not many games when we haven't really turned up. It's always there's been at the minimum of having a go, hasn't there? There's been something there. There hasn't been many times when you think there's been a complete no-show. But this felt like Wolves had almost won the game before they'd started. It felt like a casual attitude. It was flat.
It was flat, it was.
The problem is when you start a game of football flat, it's really hard to turn it back on again. There's almost a casual, we're going to turn up and we're going to win today. Norwich deserved to win. It wasn't like this wasn't a fluke. As you said, they had some early chances. They got the goal before half time. You could kind of smell it coming. Yes, we rallied in the second half, but for me, that just wasn't good enough. And I know I keep going on about the FA Cup. Any cup will do because 40 years have gone by, plus years now. We haven't won a trophy. I just want to, by the time it's time for me to hang up my boots and go elsewhere, I just want to see Wolves win a trophy. Yes, I've seen some great promotions and great seasons, and we've been nearly men, just one trophy. And I feel like last weekend they let us down in terms of their application, and many players. There wasn't many there that could say we proper did well. And Bruno was quite public in what he said as well, wasn't it? And I think the fans need to see that. And when a manager publicly shows disappointment in his squad, you kind of feel a bit better as a fan, because you're like, you know what, at least he knows that wasn't good enough as well, and you kind of makes you feel a bit better. Well, it did me anyway, seeing Bruno having a little pop.
Yeah.
And we all have, they're human beings out there that can't be on the ball all game, every game. It's just impossible, isn't it? But with that performance, and I know we're going to come on to Arsenal, and then the Arsenal performance is 2 home games, it's very little created, it's no goals. Does it start to raise alarm bells around what might be coming up in the future? I don't know. I might be thinking too deeply about it, but was it a one-off? Yeah, maybe, but I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I think it's still quite raw, isn't it? I mean, I think Ryan's right in saying that we just want a trophy. It's not about. I don't expect Wolves to be in the Champions League. I don't expect Wolves to be winning multiple FA Cups or League Cups or winning the Premier League. I just want one trophy in my lifetime, and I'll take that. I mean, we've won the Championship and absolutely love that. We won the Sherpa Van. I was a young man back then, but I still remember the day and I still enjoyed it. You just want those moments, don't you? I mean, you see sort of your Man Cities now, and they barely even celebrate winning a cup now because it's so regular for them, and it's almost part of the season, isn't it?
Imagine you were bored of winning trophies. Could you imagine being bored of winning trophies?
Not really, no.
As Wolves fans, definitely not.
No chance.
But well, just to clear up that, because I know it was last, and we want to talk about Arsenal more. It was a day I felt a little bit disappointed, let down. Another year goes by, another cup opportunity. I mean, we say we'd have got Liverpool, but things are different, aren't they? Because people talking about it, it probably wouldn't have been Liverpool. We'll never know. But I felt disappointed. Moving sort of all slide nicely into Arsenal, beg your pardon. But it was much improved, wasn't it? The Arsenal, much improved. But again, Tyler, it probably just wasn't good enough.
I don't know. You know me, glass is always half empty. And I don't know if it was that much improved. You talked about starting games slowly. I thought we were slow getting out of the blocks yesterday, and I thought Arsenal started the first sort of 10, 15, and then we did come back into it. But again, similar to what I've said about Norwich, I think we'll still be playing now and we wouldn't have scored, to be honest. And I don't know, there just seems something missing from what we've talked about the last few weeks about Bruno Ball, and that seems to have gone the last couple of performances. And you said as we were warming up, Ryan, it's one of them games. You can play it 10 times, you win 3, you draw 3, you lose 3. And Arsenal did nothing to win the game, let's be honest. They weren't any better than us. They had the shot that Lacazette hit straight at Sarr and the goal, and that was it. That was their 2 shots. It was just one of those scrappy games. But we've been on the positive ends of those sorts of games, haven't we? Where we've sort of stuck it and we've won it and we've come away from it. So you can't moan too much about it. I thought Arsenal managed the game very well. People will moan about it, but again, we've been waxing lyrical about Wolves doing it. It was a side to Arsenal I've probably not seen for a few years, to be honest. They managed it brilliantly. And we never looked like scoring, even when we went down to 10 men. So I think it was slightly better maybe than the Norwich game, but I was still disappointed in the performance, to be honest.
What was your take on it, Knocker?
Similar to Chris, I wasn't expecting anything out of the game beforehand. We had that conversation ourselves, but I just thought it was very, very flat. I thought everything was flat. The performance was flat. And for me, that's one of the worst Arsenal sides I've ever seen down Molineux.
Yeah.
They didn't impress me one bit. I thought they were really poor. But we just didn't have that ability to hurt them. I mean, we put, 37 odd crosses into the box, but you've got one player in there attacking it in Jimenez with 2 or 3 defenders around him. And then, we had no one really breaking from midfield, but when we did get those chances in the area, it was landing on Dendoncker, and it was almost like he got a pillar wrapped around his head the way he was heading it. It was just floating and doing nothing, and there was just nothing. There was nothing there. As soon as the goal went in, I thought, that's game over. I didn't see any way we're getting back in. And even with the red card, I think that really helped us out. Even though we didn't get anything out of the game, it manoeuvred the stats towards us because it gave us more of the possession. It gave us some more shots on target. Because without that, I think the game comfortably rolls away 1-0, maybe even another goal or 2 for Arsenal. Because I just thought we almost heads dropped, and the game just looked completely over to me as soon as that first hit the net. And it didn't work in midfield. Marcel starting was absolutely bizarre to me when you've got Saka running at him. Surely you want someone in there with pace. So I'd have played out Nouri. If there was an injury there, then, I held my hands up, fair enough. But I'm not aware of anything, and he came on, didn't he? So
he came on. He can't have been injured, can
he can't have been. So for me, that's a really bizarre decision. We had to play Dendoncker because we've got absolutely nothing else that we can put in there. And I'm not, I'm not on with this slagging Dendoncker off. I think he does the best he can do, but whenever he's playing in that midfield, he's either replacing Neves or Moutinho, or he's playing along with them, and he's just not at that level. So he's going to look out of place every time he plays there. And the one thing I will say about him, I think he's regressed since he came to the club. I don't think he's the player that he was. I mean, if you remember when he first came at Everton, I remember him running the show at Everton, scored a fantastic volley to make it 3-1. Scored at Villa Park as well.
When he's in a three-man midfield, he looks better. But when he's got 50% of the creative responsibility, which isn't his game, when he plays for Belgium, he plays as a holder in a three-man midfield. I think he's playing as a three-man midfield there. So it's a lot harder for him when we're so used to of what João Moutinho provides, and then obviously you can't compare them. But Wolves are a totally different side when they haven't got two creative players in the middle.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, does it? We know that Moutinho and Neves works, but when you've got a small squad, you need to replace quality with quality, and we just can't do that.
But again, we bang on about it. How are we in this position now, 40th in the Premier League, that this is all we've got? And we bang on about transfer windows, but how the hell are we in a position where Dendoncker's our option in centre midfield? It's abject management, it's mismanagement, and it's really poor. He's nowhere near good enough to play in a 2 in centre midfield in a Premier League team. Nowhere near. And we find ourselves in this position over and over again. In a 3, Ryan, you're right, he can do a job. He was useful at Brentford, wasn't he? He pushed forward, he got in positions, he was involved in the goals. I understand that. But in a 2, you've just... we can all see it. It's just not good enough. It's unacceptable. I'm sorry, it's unacceptable.
Without digressing into what we're going to talk about a little later on in terms of the squad, keeping it on the Arsenal game, I mean, we rallied, but one thing, it's not often we praise referees. And I'm going to give Oliver a brief moment of praise. I thought that officiating for that red card was some of the best refereeing I've ever seen. I'm not saying because it was a red card and it gives us a chance, but when you put your hand up into a player's face and stop him taking the throw-in, regardless, that's a booking, and you're obstruction. Yeah. And then you bring a player down, that's another booking, and he's deliberate. Yeah. Now, someone's shown up the rules about saying, you pick the worst foul in the run of play. They're two separate incidents. They're not bringing the same player down twice. He's obstructed one player taking the throw-in, and then he's brought another player down. For me, it's 100% red card, and it's refreshing to see. So how many times do we see a player get booked at the end of a run of play, and he's just putting tackle after tackle in that's bad, and he doesn't get punished? That was proper refereeing, I think.
But he's been slaughtered for it, though, hasn't he? He's been absolutely slaughtered for it. Keown's hammered him, but we want our referees to let the game flow. How often do you get frustrated because they're pulling things back and they're giving you a disadvantage, which you would have done with that decision? For me, they're 2 bookable offences. He's absolutely spot on with that. But I think Arsenal caused their own problems there because they were doing that all game. I mean, for me, I thought they were time wasting from sort of 10 minutes into the match. I thought they were throwing themselves to the floor. They were. I mean, the lad who scored the goal, Gabriel, I mean, there was one point in the second half, he just sat on the floor. And I'm in the South Bank, and you're looking at him, there's no one around him. He just sits down for absolutely no reason. And I think Oliver had got to the point where he was getting wound up with it himself. He was annoyed. And Pedence probably got dropped 5 times in the first 30 minutes of the game. And,
Cedric pretty much had a free run in the first half. I know Pedence can be theatrical, all right? That's who he is. That's what he does. Like it or dislike it. That's who he is. He's been playing well recently. He's having a really good 2022. But Cedric in that first half kicked him up and down again and again and again. And until you show a player a yellow card, they'll continue to do it. So I thought it was weak on the Pedence. Still with us says, good evening, pal, regular watcher and listener. You don't get a free yellow card just because one's in the mail. Absolutely. Just because you slapped someone right in the face or obstructed them doesn't mean, I've not seen the yellow card. And I think what the manager said, you didn't know he was booked. But you've committed a foul, mate. You're a professional footballer. You put your hand in someone's face to stop them, or across him to obstruct him, and then you brought someone down. It's a deliberate foul. For me, it's a great decision, guys.
I would genuinely like to think that if that was a Wolves player, I'm backing the referee on that.
Raul Jimenez at Man City.
Well, Raul Jimenez, very similar. And I thought Jimenez was stupid doing that. But for me, I think sometimes you all defend your club, but sometimes you've got to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And he got that absolutely spot on for me. I don't think there can't be any complaints. But he's been hammered by the media. He's been hammered on TalkSport. He's been hammered on Sky for it. So next time he's not going to do it. For me, he absolutely did the right thing.
The only thing I want to say on it, and I fully agree with you boys, he got that decision spot on. But I thought he let a couple go. He let Kilburn get away with a booking on Martinelli that I thought was a yellow card.
Yeah,
and then 5 minutes after, he let an Arsenal player get away with one on a yellow card. So to your point, Ryan, the referees, it's such a difficult job. They've got to find that balance. Yeah, they don't want to be throwing cards left, right, and centre. But once you start letting players get away with those sort of tackles, and then Cedric gets away with 2 within the space of a minute, for me, the referee's almost lost control of the game. And you could tell the referee was wound up, and that's why he sent him off. And take the emotion out of it, because it must be difficult for referees in a blood and thunder game. And
£1,200 a game, mate. It'd be as emotional as you like. You should be doing a good job.
Yeah,
they were
definitely
taking the mick. But I think that was pure emotive frustration from Oliver to send him off. He thought, I've had enough of this. Tierney was drying the towel, wasting time on throw-ins. If he'd have stamped it down in the first 10, 15 minutes, I don't think that would have happened throughout the game, to be honest.
It wouldn't. But what I would say is we got to the point in the game where and he did try and let fouls go earlier on and let the game flow, and it was, and we want our football to flow more. It's more enjoyable, and if you have to bring it back for a foul and a booking, so be. He let a lot go, but by the time those 2 bookings happened, Chris, there was a lot of cards coming out already. People had already started to be booked by then. So
that's my point. That's my point, Ron, because he didn't do it early in the game. That's exactly my point. He let Kilburn, should have been yellow carded. That's a yellow card offence all day. Martinelli was away on the break. Kilburn cynically.
Is that the one halfway through the first half?
Yeah,
he's on the right wing when it smashed him.
If he lets him go, and then because the Arsenal player then does it, he can't book him because he hasn't booked Kilburn. So that's exactly my point, Ron. He sort of set a precedence, and then in the second half, he's almost catching up then because he's giving yellow cards. You know, the Neves one was a yellow card, but Neves couldn't even see Lacazette come in, but it's a yellow card. And then he just kept dishing them out. And then for me, that's exactly my point. I don't like yellow cards. I hate the game stop-started. But I think Michael Oliver did set a precedent for himself early in the game, to be honest.
But we're all in agreement, though, moving on, just because I want to talk about the game more. We're all in agreement, though, that was a very good piece of refereeing.
Very good, 100%.
Very good.
Yeah, spot on.
Good stuff. Now, the one thing I think one of you guys mentioned earlier on, so I apologise, I can't remember who it was. What I found most frustrating is Aït-Nouri not starting. Now, whether he's protecting him, because we know Aït-Nouri gets cramp and he sometimes struggles in long games, whether he's not quite got his body ready for a relentless 90 minutes twice a week. Because I think earlier in the season he's come off twice with cramp, hasn't he? He suffered, I think, against Liverpool and a couple of weeks before that as well. So whether he was protecting him ahead of the Spurs game because he's not ready for 2 games a week, I don't know. But he looked all right when he came on. And Marcel, when you play with him, he's more now at his stage of a career. He's a full-back, not a wing-back. And because of that, it's more of a back follow. But when you've got Aït-Nouri on the pitch, something can happen when you get the ball in the final third. He can beat a man. He can go inside. He's got 3 assists, I think, in 12 games so far this season. It's not bad for a wing-back. You know what I mean? For a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, that's a pretty decent return. So can we find any logic in why Aït-Nouri didn't start other than what I've said?
Not really, no. I mean, I get your point, but at the same time, I'm not thinking about Spurs. I'm thinking about the next 90 minutes, which is Arsenal. And who have you got running at you? You got Saka running at you. I mean, he was always going to butcher Marcel purely on pace. He knocks it past in the runs, and he's just not going to keep up. So, you know, you look at Aït-Nouri, he absolutely pocketed Mo Salah, who's arguably the best player in the world, and Sterling as well. So, all right, maybe you can't play 2 games a week, but if Johnny's fit enough to be on the bench, surely he's relatively close to being able to come on for the odd, 30, 40 minutes to give him a little bit of a break. So for me, no, I don't think it washes as an excuse. I think he should have been there from the start. You play your best 11, and then if you have to make those alterations later on in the game, then you do that, and that's why he's supposed to have a squad. But I think as soon as Marcel came on, with Marcel and Dendoncker in the team, it almost put a dampener on the kickoff because you almost felt it's going to be a very defensive display.
As much, I mean, I was really looking forward to last night, and obviously we fell the wrong side of a really close game. And as I said, Chris, you could play that 10 times, you win 3, lose 3, draw 4, something similar to that. It just felt like I don't think we did everything we could to win that game in terms of team selection. But moving away from Norwich, who I'm sure will be starting at Spurs, we've got a bit of a concern with Raul Jimenez at the moment. Now, I love Raul. It's tremendous he's made it back. I never thought he'd play again. He had some really, I mean, you were there for his first goal back at Southampton, Chris. Amazing goal. Then he went on a little spell of form when he was playing quite well. But we haven't seen Raul for a little bit now. Is this a concern to you guys?
Yeah, it is. It is for me, big time. There's just something not there. Is there? There's just 10-20% of him missing, and it kills me to say it because I love him probably as much as my children. To be honest, I genuinely like the guy that much. The Southampton goal. I mean, what he's done for Wolves is incredible, but football's brutal, isn't it? And we can't look at that. We can't look at the past. We've got to look forward, and I think we've got a real challenge with our strike options at the moment. I think Jimenez is coming too deep, whether that's a confidence thing or whether he doesn't, like you made a good point, Ryan, he doesn't trust in the supply chain getting to him and getting the balls to him. He's just not with it. I mean, Fabio Silva came on last night and he looked low on confidence, didn't he? Which is quite surprising for him because he's always had that confidence element to him. So
he's always had a bit of a swagger, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think we've got a real challenge with the strike options at the moment, and it pains me to say it, and I'd love to be proved wrong. So I've backed Jimenez on this podcast all season. He's still for me a world-class operator, but if you take that 20% away from him, I think we're struggling. But like you said, right, he doesn't get service. He doesn't get any chances.
Well, that was what I was going to say. We put a lot of crosses in the box last night. Someone mentioned it earlier on the thread, on the messages. They said, was it 34 crosses we put in the box last night? That's the most we put in, I think, since we've been in the Premier League, someone said. But I would say overall, in terms of service, Jimenez is better with his feet than his head. I mean, he's decent in the air, but Jimenez is a footballer and he wants the ball to his feet to be finishing in those areas. How much have we created for Raul Jimenez, despite the good run, how much have we created for him in 2022 so far?
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? I mean, I think one of the stats was that the header he did get on target was his second headed attempt this season. So although we're putting balls in the box, we're not putting dangerous balls in the box. And I think he's coming a lot deeper now. I think he's having to drop quite a lot deeper to try and receive the ball. And he's not getting that supply line at all. I mean, him and Adama a couple of seasons ago had a real good partnership. You know, he was getting down to the byline. He's putting every ball on the penalty spot. I mean, I remember the goal against Liverpool when it was fast one-touch, interchange play, 1-2 between them, and bang, he's nodded it in because he knows where that ball's going to go. I don't think we have that now because I don't think the supply into the box is good enough. I thought Trincao can get himself into dangerous areas, but a couple of times, especially in the first half, the final ball was just absolutely woeful. I think Podence, he can put decent balls in, but it's very hit and miss with him. I think that for Jimenez to score goals now, really, you're looking at set pieces because it's the only time we're actually loading the box. The rest of the time, I think he's very, very isolated, and he's just not. I mean, if you've got two centre halves on you, crowding around you, you're going to struggle, aren't you? You're not going to get yourself in those chances.
His name was going to come at some point, but you've only got to look at Adama at Barcelona. He's gone to Barcelona after 21 minutes, but there was 4 blokes in the box.
That's the difference.
And it was a lovely ball. It was a lovely floaty ball. So we've got to give credit for Adama. If you've got a box full of players in attacking side, but if you're Jimenez, like you guys say, and you've got 2 centre-backs on him, then it's going to be difficult, isn't it? Anyway, everybody, I don't think Tyler or Eddie Howe has got a new sponsorship deal with an alcoholic beverage. That might be some product placement he's doing there. So I don't know how that's going to go with our legal team.
He's got a side deal going on, He's got a side deal.
You're the legal team, Ryan. Can you sign it off as well?
Yeah, but go for it, mate. Keep drinking.
But this is a silly question, fellas. But I watched Villa Leeds the other night, and that was a game of football. Whereas a Wolves fan, I sat there and I thought, look how these teams get people in the box. Both teams did it. They were runners.
But they both let 3 goals in, mate.
I don't care, mate. I want to be entertained. We've scored 17 goals all season, and that's just not good enough. And I'm sorry that they just put men forward. Burnley were doing it against Man United, men in the box, and they're Burnley.
Yeah,
we've got one player in the box.
On that note, Tyler, I've got to bring this comment. It's brilliant. Still with her, who's a regular watcher. I came from Canada for the last 2 games, and I'm not even surprised you didn't score. I'm not even mad. I had to go to the museum today to see a Wolves goal. I mean, I'm sorry he's not seen a goal. That's pretty crap coming all that way. But
That's horrendous.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry. So, well, when you come back, that's serious commitment. When you're over next, come and have a beer with us, mate, because that's serious commitment. Fair play.
We'll cheer you up, mate. Yeah, no.
We'll cheer. Well, I don't know if Tyler will, but me and Knocker will give it a go.
We'll leave you at home, son. Me and Ryan will go. He'll be jumping out the plane on the way back if you come.
But it's a genuine question. There's a bit of tongue in cheek in it, but what? It sounds stupid. How are we trying to score goals?
No, I think you might.
Unless it's like the Brentford goals, unless they're beautifully crafted,
well, that's it,
really
isn't it?
good goals. How do we score goals? Because it ain't by crossing the ball in. It's not by getting runners in the box. It's not. What? How are we trying to score goals? Like,
okay,
it's an open question. But...
So I'll jump on top of that then, guys, and then put the question back to you two. Are we trying to score? Are we obsessed with trying to score the perfect goal? Because the two goals
we're not. No, we're having one shot a game, haven't we?
But that's my question, though, Knocker. But that's what I mean. If you're trying to score the perfect goal, you're not having enough shots. And at Brentford, those two goals were beautiful. The build-up, I think, in the first goal was out. The match today didn't show it because it went on for a minute. The passing around the pitch was fantastic. But if we're obsessed with doing that goal every time, it's not going to happen. We need to be having more shots.
I just think we've almost forgotten how to score goals. I mean, what we were doing yesterday, you're slinging 34 balls into the box and no one's getting on the end of it. No, I mean, you've put 20 in the box. It's not working. So what do? You're going to keep doing the same thing 14 more times. I mean, you've got to have a plan B, and everything's coming. We were trying to move the ball through midfield in the first few games of the season, and we're playing some lovely football, creating chances. Now we've kind of moved away to try and hit the wide positions, and now we're just sort of trying to sling the ball in the box from anywhere and hope it drops. And I think Chris made a really good point when you look at the Villa Leeds game, because I watched that and I was thoroughly entertained in that game.
It was a great game,
but you look where Coutinho was. Look where he was for that finish. Now that's not a player who's playing in that central position. He's playing and he's drifting. He comes inside, he gets himself into the edge of the area, and he's there for the pullback, and bang, he finishes it. We're not interchanging. We're not moving around. We're rigid.
Let me just jump in with this. This is a perfect time. Matt Wolf has commented, well, you've got to say, guys, the reason those teams drew 3-3 is because they both played partially. They played 4 at the back, and going back to it again, aren't I? And it was almost 4-3-3 for both teams. Matt Wolf on YouTube watching said it's time for 4-2-3-1 with Potenza as a 10 to give Jimenez the better service. Now,
definitely,
I wouldn't be against that, but I think you're going to be really brave. He's not going to drop Cody. Not going to happen. And Cody's been brilliant this season, so he doesn't deserve dropping.
I think he does drop Cody. I think he does drop him.
Yesterday, you think he'll drop?
I think he will. We went to a 2 at the back. Cody came off.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that's a sign of what he's looking at, because he wouldn't take your captain off if he thought he'd be comfortable in that position.
Are we at a stage, though, that we can afford to drop? Because, I mean, we've all questioned Cody. We were at the start of this season, we wasn't sure. We thought we'd be going to a back 4. We didn't think he'd be. We worried about him and Kilman. Conor Cody this season has been one of Wolves' top performers. It's going to take some balls to drop Conor Cody and go to a back 4.
But why not do it? Why not do it now, Ryan? We've got half a season to play with. We're not going to get relegated. If he wants to go to a back 4, he's got 17 games to implement it. Why not?
Okay. Who's your 2 centre backs then, Tyler?
Yeah, no, I would play Cody and Kilman myself. I would. I think Cody fully deserves it, and he's still the captain of this football club. But I mean, we've talked about this a million times, the old formation game, hasn't he? But it's probably right. I mean, it's not rocket science. If you have more attacking players, you're probably more likely to score a goal, aren't you?
But you've got to play Cody, though, haven't you? Because otherwise you've got 2 left footers playing at centre half. I mean, surely you play Cody.
Could be a nice balance. Yeah.
And Max to the left of him. I think Cody's done more than enough to have an opportunity at 2 at the back.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be saying this, and I absolutely am. I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. Conor Cody has been brilliant for Wolverhampton Wanderers this season. He's had a great few seasons, but every time you think it might be time to change or go into a different formation, he steps up again. With his England call, he stepped up again. Yeah. This season, when you're thinking we're trying to go to a 4, he steps up again. He was so good, it almost stopped the manager playing 4 at the back. That's how good he was this season, and he deserves massive credit for that. Is he a centre-back in modern football in a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1? I don't know. But I'm at the stage now when I wouldn't mind if we tried. And like you said, Tyler, 17 games to go. Give it a go. And later on when we're chasing the game, I mean, Daniel Podence is annoying. Sometimes he's frustrating what he does. But when he's in that 10, in that pocket, like he came on almost against Villa when it was 2-0, The guy's almost unplayable. You don't know what he's going to do. The little twists and turns, it just opens absolutely everything up for him. And I think it was him that put the cross in for the safe goal at Villa Park. He picks up those positions absolutely fantastically. So let's see. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But like you guys said, if he's taking Cody off, we've probably 10 or 15 left last night to go 2 up top or whatever he did, wherever they were playing. I couldn't quite tell. Then, you know what? It shows that that's what he's thinking about for the future. But just finishing off on the Arsenal game, because, I mean, we're over halfway through the show in terms of our allotted time. I mean, as we said, on another night we could have won. There was nothing in those sides. It wasn't a great Arsenal side. And as we talked about earlier on, that Arsenal side, who weren't great, they're 5th in the table. I mean, that's the quality. There's 3 teams that I consider better than everyone else, and then there's the next 5 teams who are good, and then there's the rest. And unfortunately, there's a massive opportunity wasted for Wolves last night. So frustrated. Anyway, let's close on the Arsenal game. Briefly talk on the atmosphere. Not just last night. I actually didn't think it was too bad last night, to be honest. I thought it was better than it had been recently. The Norwich game was non-existent. It almost felt like there was an expectancy just to win from the stands and from myself, from our predictions. So we're all guilty of it, and the team as well. So what has happened to the Molineux atmosphere this season, other than a couple of occasions, Tyler?
Have we become again? It's a similar thing, a downfall of our own success. You know, have we become lazy, lethargic as fans, where, you know, we turn up now, we expect to get a result. We don't really think we have to back the team. We don't really have to make it a fortress. Has COVID had a part to play? I don't know.
I'd say it definitely has.
Are we enticing a new breed of supporter? I know Mark's quite passionate about this with obviously the branding and what we're trying to do. I think there's a whole host of reasons, but I think one thing we'd all agree on is that Molineux's better when it's rocking and it's a horrible place to go, and the atmosphere's sometimes evil, isn't it? And that might be a bit of a strong word, but that's when Molineux's at its best, especially under the lights. And
that's how we want it.
For whatever reason, we haven't captured that, have we, for a season and a half now, maybe a couple of seasons?
So just turn another question on to you on the same subject, Knocker. If that's the case, and we've gone a bit soft in the stands, I know there's people that are quite vocal about this, and rightly so, because a lot of those games under Nuno, those cup runs, those games pushing for 2 7th finishes, the fans were there, wasn't they? They were biting on side. How do we change it, and how do we get it back? Yes, Tyler said in terms of the COVID break and being away from your stadium for 12, 18 months, that had a massive part because it distanced you. And I love Wolves massively, but it didn't hurt as much when I wasn't there. I felt distance from my team. Now, are we still recovering from that, Knocker? And what can we do to change it?
I don't think we are. In terms of can we change it, get relegated is the only way. That's the only way we change it. Because
I thought I was negative.
We've gone soft. As a fan base, we have gone. I'll probably upset a few people with this, but we have gone really soft.
Obviously, you're tongue in cheek. You don't really mean that, but it's the way to change it. I get what you're saying.
That is how we would change it, because the whole match day experience now is wet. It's wet as a lettuce. It's horrendous. You go in now. I had a pie yesterday. They served it me in a box. They gave me a pie in a box, and the pie was phenomenal. It was good. It was steak and ale, right? It was dripping in beef. It was absolutely perfect. That's not a football pie. A football pie is a lukewarm pie that tastes like it's already been eaten. You have a pint of beer. You're starting me off now. You got a pint of beer, right? It's got a head on it. That's not a football pint. A pint of, it should look like it's like rank cider that's been left on the side for 3 days.
Tyler, what have we done here?
You want the ground to be. You want the ground to be horrible, right? Now, any supporter coming to Molineux, whether you're a visiting fan or you're a home fan, you have the absolute right to be safe on the way to the ground, on the way back 100%. From the ground. You should never experience an issue, and I would never advocate at any point any kind of issues. You win, lose or draw, you go home, end of story. But when you're in that ground, you should hate every second of being in that ground if you're an opposition supporter. But we've not done that. We've turned it into this fabulous light show now. It's like, it's like being out on a Saturday night now before kickoff. And then you've got music. You've got the goal music. You've got these wonderful flames blasting up.
Oh, no, let him go now, for God's sake.
Who cares about that? I don't want to see that rubbish. I'm not telling you. Mate, I'm here for 3 hours doing this. But you sat there and you're looking at all these flames go up. You're looking at the Billy Wright stand, and they're all holding up a sign, can I have your shirt, please, and all this sort of stuff. And there's one lad who had one yesterday, and there was all lights across the top of it and all this sort of stuff. I don't begrudge anyone trying to do that, but you're at a football match. You're not there to try and collect someone's shirt. I remember, we had Portsmouth down at Molineux a few years ago, and Paul Merson come to take a corner, and there was pies launching on the pitch at him, and there was just a torrent of abuse, and he was terrified. Even the Billy Wright were having a go at him, and there was a fantastic.
You know Ben Foster said on his podcast?
That's exactly what I was going to say. He said it was terrifying at Wolves. Now it's not anymore. There was an Arsenal fan walking around the South Bank yesterday. There's just nothing there. We've lost that edge now. And I tell you, we're not the first team it's happened to, because if you remember when we used to go to Birmingham City in the 90s, you came out that ground and there was a partition and there was bricks, there was bottles flying over the top.
You'd be grateful just to get home alive after that game.
You would, but they got promoted. As soon as I got relegated, I remember going to the ground and it was dead. Same as Stoke City, used to be a ferocious atmosphere, but you have a taste of this Premier League football, you start believing the hype, and you see the media and you're watching Gary Lineker talk about your football team. It just takes away, some of the passion out of the ground. Sorry, I know I've gone on about this, but
I bet you're glad you asked, aren't you, Ryan?
Knock a stay. Calm.
Sorry,
calm.
I'll be
just jumping onto that, Tyler, and I'm reluctant to do this, but you have to acknowledge it, Tyler. How good were those Leeds fans at Ellen Road? What was that like? That was like how we used to be.
Yeah, as Docker was talking then on my kids' life, I was sitting here thinking Leeds away and Leeds away. I mean, if we hadn't have had 12 points before kick-off, I'd have been terrified, because honestly,
couldn't see
the place. That was probably a good thing. The place was disgusted.
Yeah.
It was scary getting in. It was scary getting out. It was scary in the game. And I'm a 36, 6'6", 20 stone punter.
I've never been a bodyguard to a giant before.
But Ryan, it was like going back to the 90s, wasn't it?
It was.
And like
but I respected it.
It was probably a bit extreme, because you were thinking, hang on a minute, this could get a bit tasty. And no one wants that, like Knocker said. But like you said, the Southampton game, I took Henry to. Henry had his Wolves shirt on, and there were Southampton games as we were walking up to the ground saying, "Oh, good luck today, good luck." And I'm sat there thinking, what? A Premier League team is wishing us good luck to beat them because my lad's got his top on, and that's the Premier League for you, Knockers, right? You don't get that in the Championship and League 1 and 2.
I feel like
not even non-league games. Premier League's so commercial.
We could do a whole podcast just on this, but we're not going to. So
that answered your question anyway as to why Molineux is quiet.
I think
I'll keep quiet now on the rest of this.
I think I've got the flavour of what you guys think.
If I start again, I'm going to be off again. But the final point on that is, I think
can't stop him, Tyler.
The atmosphere is on a slippery slope now. It's almost become, it feels like a tourist attraction now. It feels a lot like people are coming for a little bit of a day out as opposed to coming to watch a football game. And I think because we're trying to push the brand abroad, and you've got people like Mr. Miami who's doing regular videos for the club about the football and all this sort of stuff, I think we're kind of bringing a new dynamic into the club now. And everyone's welcome at Molineux. You want to support the team, come and support the team, but we're losing that kind of rigid edge. Yeah, we're losing what we used to have.
Right, then sorry to cut you, but we've got 21 minutes, and if we set you off again, mate, that's another 15 minutes of the show gone. Right,
I'll be good now.
Just briefly, no way that's happening. So let's just briefly then, rumours surfaced last week that there was a deal potentially in place for Adama to do a straight swap with Trincao. I don't know how true that is. I think Tim Spires might have rubbished those a little bit, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me because we've got their player, they've got our player on loan. If it works out, everyone's kind of, well, the club will be happy. Tyler, quick thoughts on that potential swap deal? Quick thoughts.
I don't know, mate. I like Trincao as a footballer. He's totally different. You can't compare the two as players. Well, I'm with you, Ryan. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the way it goes. But if you're losing a player like Adama and not getting any cash in the bank, whoever's coming in the other way, I'd think that's a poor bit of business. Yesterday was a game crying out for him, and I don't want to go too much on the Adama subject, but it just looks a more stupid decision letting him go before the summer, doesn't it? Before we've got quarter of a season left. It'd have been perfect to keep. But
look at the last two games and we're chasing a goal.
Yeah, I think it'll happen, Ryan. I think it'll be a straight swap. And I think Trincao will come good. I like him as a footballer. I'm a bit meh about it, to be honest. It doesn't really excite me, but
yeah, just briefly before I bring you on this one, Knocker, to get your opinion. I tweeted about Trincao, and I think the fans are still split. But in terms of, I don't think people can be split on. That is one of the most gifted footballers in the squad. That guy is a silky footballer. The talent that guy has, I just think, probably like with Neto did, could do with another half a stone or a stone in tank on him. He really could. But the talent is clear for all to see. So I don't know, Knocker, would you be happy with that deal? Bearing in mind, Adama could sign at Christmas time for somebody, and then we'd lose him on a free.
At this moment in time, I wouldn't be happy with it. No, I think I agree with Chris. I think he's got something about him. I'd like to see him in a midfield position as opposed to playing as a wide attacker. I think we'd see more from
definitely.
him. I don't think that deal will happen purely on the fact that we let Adama go at this stage, because for me, we've done that to guarantee the money. I mean, we could have held on to him to the end of the season and then sold him for maybe 15, 20 million. So I think they were determined to kind of lock in that 30 million. So I think we will sign Trincao, but I don't think it will be as a straight swap for Adama. I think there'll have to be some money involved in that.
Okay, cool. Right,
have you met Jeff Shee, sir? We'll be playing Barca.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong, to be fair.
No, gentlemen. We've got 20 minutes. We've got so much to talk about. Right. Let's talk about now our league predictions for this season. Again, we've got to keep it brief because we are smashing through the time. It's been a great body so far. Thank you so far for everyone's comments, questions. Please keep them coming in. Also, as we get near the end of the show, I'd love to know your prediction and first scorer for the game at the weekend. Knocker's going to start a competition off for us. We're going to keep a tally of people's predictions and first scorers. And at the end of the season, whoever's tallied up the most, we're going to get you on the show to join us. So if you could put in your prediction, anyone that's watching live, put in your prediction for the score and your first scorer. Whoever has tallied up the most points, you get a point for the first scorer, point for the score right. Whoever's tallied up the most points in the season, come and join us on here at the end of the season. That might not be appealing to some, but hey, that's what the budget's stretched. We've had Daz Isle on twice this season. Yeah, that's all we've got, mate. We spent the money on Daz Isle, haven't we? So, right.
We'll give him a can of that beer you're drinking as well, son. That'll swing it.
Oh yeah, we go.
Other brands are available.
Product placement, gentlemen. I can't believe Knocker's the only one not drinking. So, let's talk about our final league position. So, Tyler, give me quickly then where we're going to finish this season, mate, and why quickly.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with what I've said all season. I think we're between 10th and 12th. I've said that from day one. I don't see any difference now. So, what's in the middle? I'll say 11th because that's in between the two, isn't it? I think we're a mid-table Premier League team.
Knocker.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think we'll finish 11th. I think we could finish lower than that, but when you look at the teams below us, they're not really putting any kind of form together. So I think we may by default finish 11th.
Right, boys, it's my job to cause conversation and controversy and light fireworks. So I'm going to go with 6, boys, just because, you know what, I've said it, and there we go.
Put that beer down, son.
Is that, how many is it? Has it had 6?
There's 4, I think, mate. Maybe 5.
You know we'll have to score goals, don't you, to finish 6?
Nah, mate. Let's get the 0-0s going.
Yeah, might do it, to be fair.
You don't finish 6th scoring the amount of goals.
Nah, zero chance of us finishing.
But this is good. This is why sometimes I don't mean everything I say, and because I'm saying it now, we've got a bit of debate. And if we do finish 6th, you boys are not going to hear the last of it on that group chat. You're going to block me from my own group chat, and I'll be banned from my own podcast. But hey, there we are.
Put a bit of science behind it then, son. Why are we going to finish 6th?
I've got to be honest, yeah. I look at the teams above us. Great question, by the way. And I don't see those teams that are chasing. I've watched a lot of football, an unhealthy amount of football. Are those teams above us much better than us? We saw Arsenal, right? We could have won that game. I've watched Spurs, yeah. I watched Man United. I watched West Ham. I look at those sides, and none of those sides, I look at them and think, wow, they're good. They're better than us. I think 2 of those sides have still got European football to come. More fixtures, West Ham, Man United. I don't know if Spurs are out. Are Arsenal still in Europe? I don't think they are. No, so I'm telling you, boys, you know what? We're hurting from a defeat, but I think it's still game on. Yes, we'll need luck with injuries, but last night, that game could have gone either way. We didn't fluke those wins in January. There were some good performances. There was some good style and a good pattern. Those teams who were chasing, all right, are no better than we are. They are probably, you know what? They probably have better squads, but they do not have better 11s. A little bit of luck, and we'll finish 6th. How's that for an answer?
We'll know where we are at the end of this month, won't we? It's
12.
Thing to say, but we play all the teams in and around us, and it could go one or two ways. On with Knocker, half empty again. I don't see us picking up many points over the next few. If we do, it's on.
Just quickly on that. I said at the start, I'm not sure if I said it on the podcast, but I might have said it to you boys. If we end the month in the same position as we are in terms of the gap from European football, I think it has been a fantastic month. If we're still talking about that we've got a chance at the end of the month and we've not lost every game or we've won one or two, it has been a great month. We need a little bit with their injuries. We need Martinho back. We need Raul firing. But you know what? We're 8th for a reason, because at this moment in time, over halfway through the season, we are the 8th best team in the Premier League. We're not there by fluke. We're there because we deserve it. So you know what? We've got a chance. Right.
I love the optimism on that, mate. I really do. But
you asked me for an answer, mate. Was it good enough?
I think it was a great answer, but for me, I don't think we realise the damage we've done losing Adama, and I think that's a catastrophic wound to our season, and I don't think we'll recover from that. I think it will kill our season stone dead.
Right then, this is. I'm thinking we almost need more time to answer this question, but I'm going to do it. This is one of Knocker's bullet points. We need to talk now. It's going to go off again, though, isn't it? I want to talk about. Oh God, we need to talk about the ambition of FOSUN now, and
where. You're joking, aren't you? This won't take long at all.
And where we're going now. Now, I'm going to open this up because I know what you two are going to say. This is not far off. I mean, obviously, when it was Jota, we had Jota, it was better. But this is the best squad of players, although it's a small squad, and the best consistent league position beyond the 2 7th we've had in our lifetime. So we can't be overcritical, all right? But we can question the ambition. Now, there's a lot of arguments online, Facebook, Twitter, when people think that it's either one or the other. You can be grateful for where you are, but you can remain ambitious. Now, I am incredibly grateful. Boys, I've had away days with you guys that have been amazing. One at Man United, one at Villa Park. I've been given the opportunity to co-commentate away from my team for WM. I'm so grateful. And Wolves being in those positions has allowed us to have those days and for me, those opportunities. So I'm grateful. However, I'm now a little bit concerned about the ambition. Are we now a great big shiny Premier League advertising board for FOSUN, or is still the ambition there to be trying to compete with Man City, as Jeff said a couple of years ago? I'm going to start with Tyler on this one because I think Knocker might explode again if he goes again.
I was going to say, I might just hand the floor to Knocker because he'll articulate it better than me. But my personal opinion is, and Daz said something similar maybe the other week, it's the communication piece. If something has changed, it needs to be communicated to the supporters of the football club. You can't come and say we're going to challenge for titles and then we'll probably, 4 transfer windows now, not back the manager. What's the point of sacking Nuno and putting Bruno in if you ain't going to back him, if you're not going to give him money and give him the tools to do his job? I personally think, like Knocker said a few times, it's now a self-sustainable model. We'll sell our best assets, we'll look to replace them with younger up-and-coming models and hope to stay in the Premier League. I genuinely think that's where we're at now.
All right, everyone take cover, sit down, cover your children's ears, mute the telly. This is Mark Knock.
No, I'll be calm on this one. No, I mean, I'm still very much pro FOSUN because I think where we are in the pyramid at the moment is a result of what they put into it. My concern is that the second they mention self-sufficient, it put us in a really difficult situation because we will continuously sell our best players. I fully expect Neves to go at the end of this season because that will be the natural progression for us. I just think it's about managing expectations at this point. I think when Jeff Shee comes out and says, we're going to challenge Man City, we're going to do this, money's not going to be an issue, we want to win trophies. And then we started bringing in your Neveses and we started bringing in these top draw players. You're thinking, this could happen here. But then we completely fell off a cliff. So I just think maybe a little bit of transparency.
Just saying falling off a cliff, we are right in talking about European football.
We are 8th and talking about European football, but we were 2 signings away from potentially being 4th and talking about Champions League football.
I agree.
That's where that level of ambition comes in. Now, were we 4th or were we 8th because of FOSUN this season or despite FOSUN this season? Because I think Bruno Lage really exceeded expectations this season. I think FOSUN would have been very, very happy if Wolves finish 14th, 15th, but don't flirt with relegation. I think they'll take that. And I think he's overextended what they really thought we could do. And I've heard people come out and talk about this financial fair play is affecting us, and we're going to go heavy.
On for 4 years.
It's rubbish, mate. And people are saying we're going to go heavy in the summer. We're going to do this. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to bring back.
No.
We're going to bring back a couple of the loan players who will be integrated into the squad. We'll sell Neves. We'll spend a bit of money to try and bring in the next version of Neves, and that's going to be the way it works for us going forward. In terms of the dream we were sold at the start, that's never going to happen. But if they'd have come out and said to us, we want to get into the Premier League, we're going to do what we can to sit in the Premier League and push as far as we can, we'd all accept that, because we've all been around long enough to know when things were a lot worse than that. But I just think if you don't manage people's expectations and then you change the plan and you've not involved us in that, it creates a little bit of an issue for yourself. And I think that's where we are at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Tyler was right, mate. You've absolutely smashed that. However, and I know people don't like it. They like saying, "Oh, look where we've been, look where we've come from." You're allowed to acknowledge that. It's not a crime.
Yeah,
and
100%.
for fans like us that have been to Celtic on a Wednesday, that have been to Carlisle, watch your team lose at all kind of places, and follow them around from League One, and even further back from that, having 10, 15 years or whatever it was, the longest team that ever to spend their time in the second tier of English football. We've seen it, and we are established now, and it's good. It's just frustrating for me that door had opened on something much bigger to take us to the next level, and we decided not to walk through it. It may still happen, but it's a lot less likely. And as you said, Knocker, you nailed it. Wolves have left the January window weaker than we started it, and that then obviously makes your task of what you're trying to achieve, overachieve with, a lot more difficult. But I absolutely agree. Right, I've got to move on again quickly, guys, and I don't want to light another Knocker follow-up, because I mean, there's children watching this, Knocker.
I've got it out of my system now. I'm all right.
Okay, now there was an incident in the week regarding Kurt Zuma that a video came online of him abusing his pet, and it was, quite frankly, it was disgusting. I'm an animal lover myself. I know, Knocker, you've had pets. I know, Tyler, I don't know if you've had pets. You've got Knocker, so I guess that's your main pet. But that video was nothing short of disgraceful. And this is another point raised by Knocker in terms of the brief of what we're going to talk about in terms of player responsibility. Footballers, whether they like it or not, have a responsibility, in my opinion, to set an example. There's people all around the world watching the Premier League, and they look up to these people, their social media accounts, their performances, their theatrics, their goal celebrations, whatever they do, people are looking at them for inspiration and copying them on a Sunday morning, their goal celebrations. And for me, what has happened with that incident is absolutely disgusting. Now, I'm not a criminal lawyer, I'm not an expert, but I do know animal cruelty when I see it. And what I saw was disgusting. And for me personally, I think the way it's been handled isn't particularly great so far. I can't believe he's still playing and being selected. We're allowed to have an opinion on that. The video didn't lie. So in terms of player responsibility, which has been raised by this, guys, I know I've probably covered a lot there, and I'm sort of letting my emotions take over. I'm a massive animal lover. What's your take on that situation and how it's been handled?
Go on, you go, Chris.
Yeah, I can sort of hear the emotion coming from your arms. I know you've got dogs and you love animals. I mean, you're even a vegan, aren't you? So I mean, that says a lot about you as well. But the three of us like to talk, and we've all struggled for words this week, haven't we? I think we've all been stunned by it. The word I used was
don't use that word. Don't use that word.
Pure disbelief. Look, and he's not sorry about the incident. He's sorry he got caught.
But that's how it feels, doesn't it?
Yeah, I listened to TalkSport, and Laura Woods is a very good,
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. And she nailed it. She said, "This isn't the first time he's done it. It's not going to be the last time he's done it." I mean, I've got my lad sat next to me now. He's 9 years old. I purposely haven't shown him it, and I've protected him from it because I don't want him to see that.
No.
Because that's just a basic, fundamental human right that you don't treat animals that way or anyone that way. Or you treat people or animals like you like to be treated. So it's an old school motto, but it goes a long way. What's worse for me, Ryan, is West Ham's reaction to it, and the fact David
stunned,
Moyes
mate.
has come
Stunned.
out and selected him. I've got no words, to be honest, for David Moyes. He's totally gone down in my estimate. Sullivan and Gold and Brady, they don't surprise because of the nature of the people that they are. But for David Moyes to continue to play him, no respect.
The facts that they said, this was before, all right, because when they played him, was it Tuesday night against Watford? They won 1-0, and there was disbelief that he'd been picked. This has come out, all right. This video of him abusing his pet in front of his brother who was filming, and apparently, I don't know if it was one of his children there as well.
A younger person, yeah.
A younger person who it was, great example of that happening. By playing him, in my opinion, you as a football club and a manager are condoning that behaviour. Now, I don't wish anyone to lose their livelihood or whatever, but there is a law for a reason, all right?
I do.
You have to protect and creatures, animals, humans, everybody, because there's a law in place for a reason. Sorry, I'm going off on emotion again. I'm going to get all knocked, but how is that an example? Like when they said, "Oh, we're dealing with it internally." Oh, nice one. That's fine.
After an investigation, I mean, what they investigating?
And then after the sort of the outcry, his own fans were booing him. Yeah, there's a reason for that. And then afterwards, the following day they find him the 2 weeks' wages. Great. Oh, because someone that's on £4 or £5 million a year is going to be really stung by that. Absolutely good. That'll teach him. And now he's available to play the weekend against, is it Leicester they've got next?
Yeah.
I mean, Knocker, talk to me.
I think you both absolutely bang on. You both completely nailed it. And I think they could have handled it a lot differently. I mean, when David Moyes is coming out and saying he's one of our better players, so we're going to play him. So what you're saying is if he'd have been a youth team player that you didn't really fancy, you'd have sacked him and made an example of him. But because he's £30 million on 120, 130 grand a week, and you want to progress this season, you're going to play him. That's taking points over what's right. And I'm similar to you. I mean, I prefer animals to people most of the time. So
who doesn't?
When you see something like this, it's just absolutely disgusting. And my lad, he's become a real big football fan now, and he will imitate as what you said. Yeah, he's playing Rocket League. He will imitate what he sees, and he'll do the Ronaldo Sue celebration when he's playing football in the garden, because that's what he's seen. Those are the people that are influencing him in the football world. So they've all got tablets, they've all got YouTube. It's very, very easy to see that video, and that's the kind of thing that you want to keep your children away from. And whether you choose to or not as a footballer, you become a role model the second you sign that contract and you become a famous footballer, because you are now a role model. There'll be kids walking around with Zuma written on the back of the shirt because he is a public figure now. And if you act like
he's a very good defender playing for France. You've got to be good. And the higher of level football you're playing, the bigger your responsibility, in my opinion.
But if they'd have come out and said, we're going to ban him, we're not going to play him for the next 6 games, we're going to pay him maximum wages, and we're going to send him away on a RSPCA course or something along them lines, we'll accept that. You don't want the guy sacked. You know, whether we should be or not is a different story. They're not going to sack a player that paid 30 million for.
I don't know how it's all going to work, but in terms of the legal process in France, that they can try any French national anywhere in the world, that may be taken out of his hands. I don't know, but
fingers crossed.
I think there's been a really bad example. I think there's been a bad take for West Ham. I think once they've crossed the line now, they can't really step back because they're kind of admitting they're wrong. So they're just trying to ride it out. Guys, we've got a minute and a half. Yeah. We could have talked about that all night. It could have gone a lot worse than that. So I'm glad it was as respectful and as pleasant it could be. Big game on Sunday. Wolves away at Spurs. Tyler, give me, I mean, we've even talked about the team. We've had a chance. We've flown through. Give me your prediction and your first score. And everyone else, keep your score predictions coming in. We're going to get a chart, run that competition, guys. So, yeah, please do so. Tyler?
2-0 Tottenham. Okay.
Crikey. Well, that was cheery. Knocker?
3-0 Tottenham. Son. Sorry, mate. I just think we're going to get a spanking.
Well, you put me in this position again, boys. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. I'm not going to say. I'm joking. So, Wolves are going to go to Spurs on Sunday, and they're going to win 3-1. You know what? We're here for
We
this.
haven't had
Boys.
3 shots all season, so where that coming from?
I've gone a goal per beer, mate. You know what I mean? So give me a chance.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to go Wolves 3-1, and I'm going to go with Pedence opening the scoring. It's been a brilliant show. It's flown by. Thank you for your comments. I've had so much stuff come through I've not been able to put on the screen. It's been an action-packed agenda, which is thanks to Knocker and Tyler for coming up with everything. This has been the Wolves Report. Thank you to Chris Tyler, Mark Knock. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm Ryan Lester, and this has been the Wolves Report. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon after a 3-1 win of Spurs.